So today I'm going to be discussing the crime sorcery and all of its members, and this is just going to be me discussing the whole role that they play within the story of Fairy Tail. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the video. Now for starters, I'm going to give a little bit of background on crime sorcery and what they are and what they stand for. Now we do know that they're an independent guild, that they basically want to destroy all the dark guilds and anything that has to do with Xerath, because let's be honest, mainly everybody that's inside the crime sorcery, they've been affected by dark guilds or Xerath or the followers of Xerath. So they're like, you know what, fuck it, let's just go out there and take out all the other dark guilds so nothing happens to anybody like that again. And we also know that the guild, it was founded after Jalal was rescued by both Old Tyr and Merity. So it was kind of like Jalal, after he went through prison and everything, he kind of did change his ways because he wanted to then become somebody good. He actually wanted to form something that would actually take out evil. And we also know what they did with the whole Grand Magic games, how Jalal, he ended up disguising himself as Misugan just to get information about Xerath's magic and where it was coming from. We later find out that it came from future Rogue and future Lucy. And then we know the whole thing with the Old Tyr rewinding and saving Grey's life. So we know that during the Grand Magic games, they played a huge role in there. I mean, they came in so clutch and they saved a lot of people's lives. So we got to give them a clap when it comes to that. And last but not least, we know that after the Magic Council got straight up demolished and they got straight up fodderized by the Tardos Arc members, Jalal, he went and he had to fight every single member of the Aracean Saiyans, and he ended up defeating them. That was an epic battle because he was fighting them like blind and stuff, and it was just crazy. And then we do know that he actually did end up recruiting them into joining their guild. So now that we got the whole backstory of the crime sorcery out the way, let's talk about each members. And this list, I'm going to be going down like which when I'm naming them, I'm going to be saying their, I guess you could say their real name and the name that they went by when they're in the Aracean Saiyans. The ones who are in the Aracean Saiyans, I'm going to be addressing them by their code names because I'm going to be honest, I still haven't got used to calling them by their real names. It just sounds too weird. But without further ado, let's get into it. Now, the first one we're going to bring up is Old Tyr. Now, we already know Old Tyr, she is the daughter of Or, and she was a villain throughout a lot of the arcs in Fairy Tail. For example, we know the whole Galuna Island when she was dressed up as that old guy, her versus Natsu. That was a funny fight because the whole time she was like downing him and like she was running away and everything, and she basically wasn't even going all out. Which hell, she was in a disguise. So during the Galuna Island arc, she basically played Leon and tricked them and made them like use the moon drip. So we know that she had a big role in that. And then the whole Tower of Heaven arc, we saw that she was responsible for destroying the council. I mean, yo, that was just crazy because let's be honest, I didn't expect Old Tyr to come back that quickly and to actually have that big of a role as a villain like that. I was like, damn, like she's putting in work. And then last but not least, the whole Tenro Island, we know that she was one of the first people to see Xerath. The most iconic scene that she has is her bowing down, and the animation is, yeah, you guys know what scene I'm talking about. But yeah, we know during the Tenro Island, she basically went in there and she found Xerath, and she was basically one of the first people to interact with her. And not to mention the fact her whole battle with all of them, and I mean that was one of the crazier arcs. And last but not least, the Grand Magic games, where she actually ended up sacrificing herself for Grey. So Old Tyr, she was definitely one of the most important ones, but she's no longer a part of the guild because we know of her old age. And then we move on to Merity. And speaking of Old Tyr, it's funny because Old Tyr, she's actually one of the people who destroyed Merity's hometown along with Zenkro and a couple other Green Heart members. And we also know that Merity, her highlight, like her biggest highlights was basically her versus Juvia. You know, her whole fight, Juvia chasing her fighting Urza, attempting to kill herself. Like Merity, she doesn't have one. She's one of the most like, I don't want to say fodder, but she's on the least important side of the characters when it comes to the crime sorcery. And we also do know that she did discuss a plan to kill future Rogue within the Grand Magic games, and she was also there to witness Jalal go toe to toe with the Aracean Saiyans. And we know that she was shocked when he got fake killed. She was like, oh my god, but we all knew that Jalal wasn't dead. Then we move on to Sorano, aka Angel, and yes, we know that she is the older sister of Yukino. I mean, it was kind of obvious because they do look alike. They both use celestial spirit magic and everything, so it was kind of obvious, but at the same time, it's kind of like a spooky revelation to a lot of people. But like I said, she does use celestial spirit magic and she uses angel magic, but I think it's dope because, not because her name is Angel, but because it's kind of like opening a realm for a new type of magic to be use. And speaking of Angel, she was definitely one of the darkest people within the crime sorcery, aka Orasian Says, because we know that she was the one who killed off Lilica. I don't know how to pronounce it. Licilia. I'm gonna just say Lilica. And I know some people might be like, okay, who's that? Karen. Yes, Karen. We know that she was the previous owner of Loki and Ares, and she's the one who actually killed her off. So that was actually one of the darkest ends that we've seen, because that just showed that she was a savage. And to be honest, since Lucy was a celestial spirit mage, we all thought that, well, at least I assumed that if there were more celestial spirit mages, they're going to be nice like Lucy. But hell no, that wasn't the case, because we found out that Angel, she was a savage. She was on some other stuff. Next, we move on to Sawyer. Yeah, oh my god, that sounds so funny. Sawyer, aka Racer, and I'm gonna be honest, he doesn't really have too much about him. We know that he was a slave for the whole Tower of Heaven arc, and then we know that he ended up getting rescued by Brain, and his biggest thing is that he focused on speed, and he also had a good fight with Gray and Loki. I mean, that was one of the better fights in the Tenor Island arc, because it had Gray and Loki using teamwork together. The two students that formerly were trying to kill each other, that were at each other's neck, they were end up working together, and that fight was pretty cool. Although Racer, let's be honest, he's kind of fodder. And speaking of fodder, we're moving on to Richard. Yes, Richard, aka Hawkeye. Now, we know that he is an older brother of Wally, and Wally, he's that guy from the Tower of Heaven arc with the whole square chin. I guess it runs in the family. Like, listen, their genes run strong into the family, because we all know that they had the little square chin and everything. So yeah, we know that his whole personality, it's kind of a gag, but at the same time it's not. We know he's obsessed with money. He's always talking about money, 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 and he also ends his sentences with the words right or exactly. So Rick, I'm gonna be honest, Hada, he's kind of like, I see him as a gag. I'm gonna be honest. I see just the way that he looks and everything, and we also know the type of magic he uses, which is both earth magic. And yeah, so Hada, he's in the same boat as Rachel to me, to be honest. He's more on the fodder, and no offense, but yeah, we know that he's not really going to be doing too much when it comes to later on, or he could, but that's just my assumption. And then we move on to Macbeth, aka Midnight. Now, where do I start with Midnight? Out of everybody from the Aracian Says, out of the whole, before they joined the crime sorcery, he was definitely the most interesting, and he definitely had a spooky aura around him. We know that he was basically the ace of the Aracian Says. I mean, Brain, aka Zero, he was always like, no, we can't wake up Midnight, we don't want Midnight to wake up yet, because he has all this power and everything. And me personally, we know that he was a slave of the whole Tower of Heaven arc. He was never allowed to sleep, and this is just my little theory. Since he was never allowed to sleep as a slave in the Tower of Heaven arc, that's why he's always sleeping when he was first introduced, because when he was first introduced, he was always just sleeping, just taking a nap. We were all like, okay, what the hell is this guy's problem? But I think this is kind of like, I guess you could say, like, his past traumatized him so much that all he wants to do is sleep, because he was being a slave and he had to work 24/7. So I think that's what kind of affected him. And we also know that when the Aracian Says, when they were brought back after the whole, after they disbanded, got thrown into jail, he referred to himself as Brain number 2. So that showed his loyalty to Brain. And we also know that he was scared of Brain leaving him. So he had a huge attachment to him, simply because he rescued him and he put him in the position where he was. So he was definitely one of the more loyal members of the Aracian Says. He wanted to stay by Brain, but in the end, we know what happened to him. His whole fight with Jalal and him versus Urza, he had some of the best fights out of everybody from the Aracian Says, and I really do gotta respect him from that. And last but not least, from the Aracian Says members that joined the crime sorcery, we have Eric, aka Cobra. And I'm gonna be honest, his name kind of sticks the most with him. I could get used to calling Cobra Eric, but we do know that he's a second generation dragon slayer. He uses poison, and he also implanted his own dragon lacrima inside himself. So that's crazy, because if I'm not mistaken, the other people who had lacrimas placed inside of them, they had somebody else do it for him. So the fact that he did it by himself, yo, that's kind of spooky, because he was just a child when he did that too. And we also know that Cobra, he had some iconic moments within this series. The whole him versus Urza thing. He poisoned her and actually took her out for a substantial amount of time for the whole the Racing Saiyans arc. And then we know Cobra, his fight versus Natsu, that was a dope fight. Him flying around around, happy, you know, Cubulos, all of them just fighting back and forth. And we also do know that he basically was quote unquote, he was attempted killed. That Brain, he tried to kill him after he lost him not to. So yeah, we know that that's really what made Cobra say, all right, fuck Brain. And then we know that in the Tardos arc, Cobra is the one that's actually responsible for killing Brain, and that was just a crazy moment because with the whole Orisius says got revived, Brain was like, yeah, I'm the leader. Then Cobra just shot him down like, no, you're done. And yeah, we know that Cobra, he's gonna have a huge role because he's one of the 7 Dragon Slayers. So I can't wait to see what his role will be later on in the story, whether it be as a fight versus Acna Logia or whether it be something else. But I do think that Cobra, his role will be huge simply because he's a Dragon Slayer. And last but not least, the leader, Jalal. Now, I'm not going to go through everything that Jalal has done because he's one of the side main characters. So if I went there and explained everything that Jalal did, we will be here for another hour. But no, we do know that Jalal, he definitely has gone through a major change, you know, starting out as the leader of the Tower of Heaven organization, something so corrupt. And then he actually was able to go back and actually start something that's actually made for actually destroy. I just said actually a lot, but he actually went back and destroy the whole dark guilds and everything. So Jalal, he's definitely repenting for his sins, and I definitely do like the fact that he's a leader. We're going to be seeing more of him. I'm not going to spoil too much for people who aren't in the manga, but if you're reading it, yeah, you know Jalal's about to get into some deep stuff with a certain someone. But overall, that's basically it for this video. Who do you guys think is your favorite member of the Crime Sorcery? And if there's a group of fairy tale that you guys want me to discuss, who should it be? Comment what you guys see down below. Subscribe if you haven't. Peace out.